Welcome back to Sampstra Games, the place to find new strategy games, and welcome to my top 5 games of May 2020. So let's start this off with number 5. Red Planet Farming. And this is a farm builder and it's a free game, which is kind of amazing because the game is really good. So what do you do in this game? Well, you have a certain set population in Mars and you plant different crops in order to feed the population. You get certain kind of bonuses if, for example, the people like that particular crop or if it was a task that you were given by some of the researchers on Mars. As you move through the game, you gain new access to new crops, buildings, and upgrades. It's a really fun game and it's free. So if you have some time, I definitely recommend you check this one out. But let's now move to number 4. High Strategy Urukon. High Strategy Urukon is a fully released game that came out on 22nd of May. What is really interesting about this game is quite minimalistic graphic, but there's a lot of replayability and it's quite deep. Essentially, you can play by different kind of factions, and each faction has a very different goal. So there will be very different playthroughs depending. Sometimes you need to destroy other factions. Sometimes you need to gain certain type of resources. Now, each turn you have 10 actions and you can pick one of them. So this is kind of like almost as if you put a board game into a grand strategy. And it's a really fun game. I highly recommend it. I feel like this game is a really good introduction to grand strategy games because the playthroughs are not that long and also the game doesn't have such a high learning curve as some of the other grand strategy games. Number 3, Shadow Empire. So Shadow Empire is a combination of a war game with 4X strategy game with the grand strategy game. So as you can see already from the genres, it's a game that's very complex, very deep. You can put a lot of hours into it. It's very deep and it's pretty amazing because you can do so much stuff. You build the planet that you're going to play on, which affects some things. You control your military, you do a lot of choices, like you assign different leaders to different things which give you different kind of benefits. You got research, and it's a really big, deep and complex game. And if you are looking for a game that you could just pour hours and hours and hours into, this is that kind of game. It's really amazing. Yeah, I have some playthrough on it, so if you'd like, check it out. And the game is out on Slytherin already, but not yet out on Steam, so you can buy it if you'd like, but not on Steam yet. Now let's talk about number 2. Wintermoor Tactics Club. Wintermoor Tactics Club is a very interesting game because it's a combination of visual novel and turn-based strategy game. Essentially, you play as a girl in high school and you're discovering a story where different clubs fight with each other. And the way to do that is that within the game, you play a game of D&D. And the D&D is where the turn-based combat comes in. What I really like about this combat is that it's not random. There are specific strategies to do it in the best possible way. The game is quite forgiving, though. You don't need to do it in order to gain all the objectives. You can only get some of them, that's fine. But you can find that specific right way of doing the combat, and I quite like that. It's a really fun and very nice game. If you're looking for a game with a really deep and interesting story, but also very nice combat, I highly recommend this one. I had a Let's Play on it and I also made some guides for some of the beginning levels and how to do them in the best possible way. But now let's move to another game, and that's my patron's choice game. Freight Simulator. Now, before I talk about Freight Simulator, let me just thank my patrons. It really means a lot to me that you guys support me, so thank you so much. And if you'd also like to be a patron, we have different kind of rewards, like having your names in the game, usually with some kind of a story, or you can choose the games for the top 5, as you see over here, and you can chat with me twice a month on our Discord text chat if you'd like, so you can check out my Patreon. There'll be a link for it in the description. But now, let's talk about Freight Simulator. Freight Simulator is a game where you create a freight company, you buy different trucks and you employ drivers and you send them out to fulfill contracts. And you can also have your personal life in the game where you have to make sure that you are happy, fed, which can be quite fun. So it kind of gives you like combinations of 2 different things. And now it's time for number 1. Monster Train. Monster Train is a roguelike deck builder that came out into full release on the 21st of May 2020, and it is absolutely amazing. So what is really interesting about this game is that as opposed to typical deck builders where you just have one character, this works kind of differently. So you have this kind of like a train, and enemies are coming into the train, and you're placing your own minions with your cards. You also have spells that you can use, but generally you place minions, and they fight these enemies. And you need to protect your pyre, because if the enemies go there and destroy it, it's game over. The game is beautiful to look at. There are a lot of interesting mechanics. For example, you can upgrade your cards, and the upgrades are not specific for card, but just like among all cards. So you can really kind of create a specific build-up, because you can pick a card and really add some upgrades to it. They're kind of amazing and interesting. Also, you could upgrade minions, which again is an amazing thing, because you can have a minion that's just like super strong, and it's a lot of fun. If you like roguelike deck builders, I would say this one is one of the top roguelike deck builders. So you definitely should check it out. Alright, so these are my top 5 games for May 2020. Let me know what are your top 5 games for May 2020. And if any of these games catches your interest, you can click anywhere to play one of those, or look in the description for a link for my Let's Plays. I'll see you there. Bye bye!